If you're going to work with brands and sponsors, first of all, I think you should look at who you would want to work with. Then you should look at, well, who your quote unquote competitors, who's in your niche, So, okay, go look up their sponsors, go look up their sponsors. But I tell everyone, you should start with at least making a top 10 list, if not a top 100 list of who do you even want to work with as a brand, who will fit with your audience, so that it's a yes for you and it's a yes for your audience, because you don't even want to disrespect your audience by picking a sponsor that doesn't fit. The other thing you have to do is, if you're going to speak to the brands themselves, you have to understand what is a win for them. You need to ask them, for this campaign, for what we're working on, what does a win look like for you? That's one of the most important questions you can ask a brand, and I guarantee you that 9 out of 10 influencers don't ask them that. The other thing is, if you don't know what to charge and you're insecure, I'm gonna give you the ultimate hack. Just shoot straight with them and just say, look, I already wanna work with you. It's already a yes from me. I want to work with you. Just tell me what's in the budget and I'll tell you what we can do.
What is up, action takers? Welcome back to the After Hours Entrepreneur, where we're helping you build your first 6-figure year. Today, we're joined by the one and only Roberto Blake. He's the new author of Create Something Awesome. He's got well over 550,000 YouTube subscribers, over 36 million views, and he's an OG in the creative space. Today, we're talking all about the creator economy and how you can leverage the creator economy to get rich. We're breaking down the monetization paths. We're breaking down some predictions for the future. This episode is bananas. And, honestly, Roberto and I, we went for about 3 hours just chatting, because this space is so fascinating. It's so riddled with opportunity. All you gotta do is reach out and grab it. So let's get into the episode. Just a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Mark Savant Media. We are a professional podcast production agency. And if you're ready to build status and sales through podcasting, hit me up. contact@marksavantmedia.com. That's contact@marksavantmedia.com. All right, enough of me. Let's get on to Roberto, where he's going to break down how you can get rich in the creator economy. Let's go. Yo, Roberto, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Roberto, I am excellent. I'm fired up. I am lit, and I'm excited to talk about the creator economy. I hope you are.
Oh, I absolutely am. I'm so excited that I brought my own cheering section.
Hey now, pure professional in the house, Roberto Blake. So Roberto, I'm going to get right into it. As I was thinking long and hard about the first question, I said, let's just lay it up. Let's clear the air, right?
Okay.
What is the creator economy and why is it so important?
So that's a great question. It's an excellent question. It's the thesis of my entire book, Create Something Awesome Today, how creators are profiting from their passion in the creator economy. And I start with, well, what is the creator economy? And the creator economy is essentially the new world that we find ourselves in, with the interconnectivity of technology, social media platforms. What I look at is it marries creativity and what used to be starving artists to technological platforms that allow them to scale so that more people can actually see and give attention and validate what they're doing. But it also ties it to the mechanism of commerce and business and allows creators to monetize. We used to be starving artists because, you'd have gatekeepers, so you didn't have the ability to publish a book on your own. The czars of taste could tell you, no, your book sucks and there's nothing you can do about it. And so that book is going to live and die inside of you because, the means and affordability to self-publish back then, about roughly 15, 20 years ago, non-existent for the average person, no matter how talented they were. You have to be pre-approved by the gatekeepers. Television, you know what? You don't have the right look. You're not attractive enough. You don't get to be on air. No one gets to see how talented of a performer or actor or dancer or whatever you are. Okay, so you had that from the video standpoint. The same thing with live broadcast. Oh, you can't say that. Oh, you can't say that. Censored. Blah, blah. So you can't do that. The technology and the finances to reach people in real time, live video, even live audio, not affordable, not accessible to the average person. Technologically, wouldn't even have the skill to even think of approaching it, even if they could afford it. Okay. And then you look at music and you look at musicians. You know, they have to go to the mafia called the record labels and everything and be owned for the majority of their life and let people own all their stuff after they die. So it's, I mean, it's really bad. It's all these things are very bad. And again, well, how are you going to produce something on your own? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? So you didn't have the technological means to even make the thing that you wanted to make creatively. If you want to be an animator, like when I was a kid, there's no way. I had to give up my dream of being an animator because it's like, oh, you know what? We can't afford any of the things I need in order to do any of this. The software and hardware is completely out of reach. I have no real means of even like getting the money to go to the best school that would allow for that or give me those means. So it's off the table. And then what am I going to do? Go work for Disney and Marvel and make whatever they want me to make, not whatever's in my heart, not whatever story I want to tell. So again, like, why bother with doing that as an artist? You know, it's like, I'm just going to, you know, completely sell out just so that I can say, oh, well, I'm a paid artist. No. So like, you had no resources to make the things you wanted to make, no means to reach the people you wanted to reach, and no way to make a living at and monetize. The creator economy is the deliverance from all of that. All these years later, thanks to technology as convenient as this phone, which is actually a better editing and production tool than what the original Star Wars was probably shot on and edited on at this point. I mean, and it's accessible to the average person, and all they have to do is have the desire to become slightly above average at a handful of things. So then they can make what they want, monetize it, and have an audience. And that was denied to them by the complexity of the technology, the fact that they didn't have the resources to do that, the gatekeepers that would make decisions, and the inability to monetize it properly. We have all of those things now.
It's just so amazing. As someone who grew up in the 90s and lived that life, right? I remember when Napster came in, I was like, this is crazy, you know? And now, you know, you've seen this huge shift. Kids don't want to go to college. They want to be YouTubers. We want to be TikTok artists. And it's amazing to me that it is actually a legitimate, it's becoming a legitimate actual source of income.
It is.
I think that the one of the issues that you bring up in your book, though, is that a lot of creators are almost like scared to monetize. They feel like they're selling out by monetization. Do you feel like there's any, like, how do we break through that? How do we actually create content that can generate income for us without selling out?
Well, at least when it comes to, say, YouTube, as long as you know, hustle, as much as everyone wants to demonize that word, it's like, well, congratulations. You want to do this absurd thing that most people don't get to do? Great. You have to work unreasonably hard. So it's like, I'm sorry, but yeah, you're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to suck it up. And yeah, you might have to sit through 15 minutes of Gary Vaynerchuk. You might have to do that because who I love, because you are going to have to do, if you just say, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a content creator, I want to not be a starving artist, you're choosing a very narrow scope of the entire population of humans that have ever existed and saying, I want to be a part of that. You're not going to do that doing normie stuff. You're not going to be able to do normal people stuff and have that abnormal outcome and that abnormal life and that abnormal success. Even the bottom levels of it, you cannot do that. It is not compatible with you maintaining the mindset of a normal person. You're already a creative person. You already know that the things that apply to normal people don't even satisfy you as a creative person who likes to draw or write or film or do any of that stuff. So you already know you don't fit in. So stop thinking that those standard rules are something you need to live your life by and live your values and your standards by. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of the concept of selling out, well, with YouTube, at least if you hit monetization, technically you can make what you want. And if enough people support it, you will make money. If enough people support it, one way or another. And there's several ways to monetize. I talk about roughly 7 of them, 7 streams of income for content creators, and or primary streams of income for content creators. You could technically get to a few more, but they're just derivatives of the main core 7 in a lot of ways. But, you know, you can make what you want, and then you can get the ad revenue from YouTube or the creator fund from TikTok. You can make what you want, and then you can make merchandise, and then maybe people will buy that if they support you, or maybe you can write a book and they'll support you, or maybe you can find a brand that likes what you do, doesn't want to take any of your creative control and will support you then. But you do have to have the courage to say, one, I'm going to turn on the ads and you're going to sit through some ads. It's free content. It's free content. You sit through ads when you watch a movie that you paid a $20 ticket for. So you're not going to sit through ads for my free content. What the hell, man? You're like, oh, I don't want like ads before I read your blog or your article. It's like, well, you're going to sit there and buy a magazine for $6 and it's going to have like a ton of ads in it. So what the hell, man? You're going to like sit here and you're going to give the money to the corporations, but not me, the independent. You're not going to let me monetize. What the hell, man? So we have to get past the feelings of that just in terms of developing a little bit of a thick skin, respecting our work a little bit more. But we also have to, if it comes down to it, you might have to push back on the audience or people negging you. And you might have to say, you tolerate this all the time from corporations. And then you complain about corporations, and you complain about things being commercial, or you complain about things being boring or the same, but you won't give somebody who's doing something different a chance, and you won't help them make money and help them compete with the conglomerates. Well, then don't complain that everything's corporate owned, and don't complain that there's all this censorship, because you refuse to support people and you refuse to let people monetize who want to do something that presents the alternative. So we have to take some responsibility for what we consume, and creators have to learn to respect themselves. And that means sometimes even standing up to the consumer and just letting them know what the deal is and reminding them that I'm asking very little from you, and you give a lot of people a lot more, and they're never going to take your opinion into consideration. They're not going to make something just for you, and they're not even going to respond to you when you have criticism or when you thank them and you give them praise. Those things, those people, those corporations, those celebrities, they're not going to be invested in you at all, but you're going to give them a lot more leeway. Push back.
Yeah, I think it's important. The other thing that hit me, when I think about this topic is that, as you get paid money, you can create much better content for the community. You can focus on, like the quality of your episodes and your videos on YouTube are like second to none. And if you were just doing it as a side hustle, making a few $100 a month, it would not be even close.
Oh, not even close. I go out of my way to try to make the best quality video, best quality. This is a live stream. You can go watch people who broadcast into like CNN or Fox or Bloomberg, and they don't necessarily respect the audience enough to have good lighting, good audio, good everything, where they had they'll do the whole things. It'll be like they set up like the webcam on their MacBook or on their phone to do this high profile interview, and the audio is terrible. And yet you can go watch videos of mine for free on YouTube in an in-house production. And I respect my audience more than like some senator beaming in or something.
It's amazing how people are I almost find it like disrespectful when I'm watching like that example, someone's on a potato recording. And it really strikes me that a lot of people just don't get it. Right. And, there's something that you brought up in the book. We were talking about this a little bit, but I think this is just such a big part of being, I think, successful now. It's being a forward thinker.
Yeah.
And you tell this story in your book where your teachers laughed at you because you told them that in about 10 years, every business would have a website.
Yep.
And they laughed at you. They mocked you.
Publicly in front of the other students. So what happened was back in my day. So what happened was I'm about 38 right now. So 20 years ago, I was a graduate from high school, 2002. I went to a community college, small military town, because that's what I could afford. And what happened was, I was in my class. I went for graphic design and advertising, and we were talking about print media. We're talking about banner advertisements. We're talking about all these things. I brought up, and I was very aggressively defending the internet and the concept of web design, and web design as a more lucrative path versus traditional print. And my professors were or in this case, a particular professor pushed back on me and talked about the legacy of print and everything. And basically they were defending their own degree and their own experience and so on and so forth. And then I'm also a kid. So from their perspective, I'm an arrogant twat. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'd also been coding since I was 13 years old. See, so I actually had nearly a decade of experience at this point, despite just graduating high school, of actually learning something extraordinarily difficult, extraordinarily technical, because I learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I was in the beginnings of starting to try to learn a little bit of PHP and MySQL at that point. And so I was learning Flash ActionScript at the time as well. So I had taught myself, 3 very difficult coding languages and was working on a 4th and a 5th, and I'd learned all these technical things, and I was pushing back here, and I said, within about 10 years, every company and corporation in America will want a website and will need a website, and they won't be considered legitimate if they don't have one. And they mocked me and publicly in front of the rest of the classroom, who I think at the time a lot of them did agree with me, but they were afraid to stand up to the professor. And I was ridiculed, and I was mocked very publicly. It was very humiliating, and by the time I struggled to get through the rest of that school day. And this is early in my college career, and this is very devastating for me. And so then I go home, to my mom and to my siblings, and they know how passionate I am about this, because they know that I am very invested in this, and I believe this to be the future, and that I'm staking my future career on this. And that I told them how I was treated, and I told them what my teacher said, and they said, you're probably going to be right about all of this and everything. You always are trying to think ahead, and there are people, they live in the moment. You are not really the most present person in the world all the time. You always want to look toward the future, and a lot of times it just takes time for you to be proven right. So just keep going, and if you believe in this, just stay the course, because a lot of times your decisions will prove their own merit, and you'll either be very, very right about this, or it may take a little bit longer, but there's no reason for you. It's like you grew up with the internet. They didn't. You probably do know better than them, but it's not a really good look for them to accept that you might know something they don't know, because their job is to teach you. You challenging them undermines their authority, but it doesn't mean you're not right. So it was a very good conversation. I felt a lot better about it. My mom's always been great about these type of things. And ultimately, we're 20 years later, look who's laughing now. I was proven right, and it didn't take 20 years, but ultimately, there were a lot of things I predicted. And the thing is, I believe with the same conviction that being a content creator 20 years from now will be a normalized profession in the way that everyone respects what a web designer does today. Everyone understands the value of a web designer. Web design is a very prestigious profession today. Being a programmer and coder is a very prestigious profession today, but people do not remember that before the iPhone, none of this was taken seriously. None of it. So I believe that if you give it another 10, 15, 20 years, most people will understand what being a content creator is, and it will be a respected profession, and it will be recognized as a profession, and it will be given the same legitimacy as being a web designer, a graphic designer, or a coder. It absolutely will. This is the new Silicon Valley. The creator economy is the next Silicon Valley. Make no mistake about it. It's going to take creative people and give them the opportunity that technical and logistics-based people who otherwise would be overlooked in society, the turn of the 21st century gave these computer nerds who were the subject of scorn and mockery in late 90s and even early 80s, films. Oh, computer nerd. It made them into rock stars by the time the movie The Social Network came out. It will not take nearly as long for content creators to get their due, in my opinion.
No, there's no doubt in my mind. We're already seeing it happening, which is why I think this book is so great, because again, as creators, I think a lot of times we don't think about the business side of things, right? Which I kind of alluded to before, but these companies are dumping billions and billions and billions of dollars into influencers, into creators, because there's a lot of advantages. How much better am I going to be able to speak to my audience, and you can speak to your audience, than some random Kit Kat ad? You know what I'm saying?
They see the value, they know it, and it's also starting to undercut ad agencies. And I used to work at an ad agency, so I would know. It's starting to get to the point to where if you're at a company and there's a budget, and you have to decide between, am I going to go to an ad agency, spend $100,000 to get the ad agency of record to make us some material, and then pay a bunch of money to go to Google and to advertise it? Or am I going to take that same $100,000 and then save on the ad budget in terms of buying Google ad placement? Because I have to pay to get the creative made. I got to pay the agency $100,000. Then I got to pay Google $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 to distribute it. Wait. What if I just cut the budget instead of spending like $300,000 for between the thing being produced, and I've only got a limited amount of creative, and then I've got to pay for all this distribution, and I know exactly what that's going to be. Like, what if I took a half the budget and I gave it all to influencers, and I get creative and I get analytics and I also get the distribution, and the distribution might be scaled, and they're contractually obligated to give me run of sight for 12 months. So this video that they make, it has to run for 12 months. When I buy Google ads, the money runs out, the campaign is over. So I can get marketing in perpetuity, at least to the extent of 12 months. And again, an influencer, if the video gets views, has no incentive to take a video down. So it technically isn't just in perpetuity. They're contractually, 12 months. But is an influencer really going to delete public views from their channel for no good reason? Probably not, because that doesn't do them any favors. So I practically have this I'm milking this forever when I pay them. So yeah, influencer marketing is a better deal for a company than going to an ad agency of record and then going to Google on top of it, or Facebook or whoever. If you really think about it, they're making out like a bandit here. And the thing is, it also invests directly in new talent, because if they're so good at this, people go, oh, well, what if somebody lost if the biggest YouTubers lost their channels tomorrow, they would become the new ad agencies, and they'd be better at it.
I think that everyone, if you're listening to this right now, just highlight or make a note to yourself 15 minutes, because, this show is all about helping you get to six figures, right? Let's get you from 0 to 6. And a big part of that is learning to speak the language of where the money is at.
Yes.
And coming from, you just laid out, I think, like 4 or 5 or 6 reasons why you're worth more than Google ads. Why
why I'm a better value. It's about being a better value. It's not even about being worth more. It's a better value.
Okay. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here, Roberto, especially when I heard you had this advertising background, because I wanted to get an understanding of like how we can better speak the language. I mean, advertisers, sponsors, billions of dollars going out there. And as a podcaster, I'm getting a lot of downloads. I haven't even really looked into sponsorships.
Oh my God. I
haven't even looked at it.
Oh my God, you need to. I made $100,000 in sponsorships alone in the last year. You absolutely need to be doing it. There's no reason not to. One of the main things is, if you're going to work with brands and sponsors, first of all, I think you should look at who you would want to work with. Then you should look at, who your quote unquote competitors, who's in your niche, So, okay, go look up their sponsors. Go look up their sponsors. They have to disclose them, so they can't get around it. So you can just search hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored, because they have to disclose per FTC regulation. So they can't even hide who their sponsors are, so you can know, right? I even made a product that one of the items in my product is called the Brand Deal Starter Kit, right? I'm not here hawking the product, but I'm making a point. One of the most important assets in the Brand Deal Starter Kit is I put together a spreadsheet of 100 brands that actually work with influencers. And I'm working on a different product where I have like 250 brands listed. Because what a lot of people don't do is they don't even know where to start. But I tell everyone, you should start with at least making a top 10 list, if not a top 100 list of who do you even want to work with as a brand? Who will fit with your audience, so that it's a yes for you and it's a yes for your audience? Because you don't even want to disrespect your audience by picking a sponsor that doesn't fit, because then that's when you get legitimate claims of being a sellout. Is why are you hawking this scam, or why are you hawking this company that makes no sense for your... So if you're me, I talk to content creators. It makes sense for me to be partnered with StreamYard. It makes sense for me to be partnered with Epidemic Sound. It makes sense to partner with Adobe. These are tools that creators use, know, like, and trust. It makes sense to partner with Skillshare. It makes sense to partner with Wix or with Squarespace, because these are companies that creators already know. They already use them. They already love them. A lot of them will already be in the comments saying, yeah, I use it already. I've been paying for it. I vouch for it. So the credibility piece is so important to picking a brand sponsorship. You don't pick a brand that risks your own credibility. You don't align yourself with anybody that jeopardizes your credibility, whether it's a brand collaboration or a collaboration with another creator. So that's like a big part of it. The other thing you have to do is if you're going to speak to the brands themselves, you have to understand what is a win for them. You need to ask if you like, and don't even assume sometimes that you know what a win looks like for them. Because everyone thinks that it's views. Everyone thinks that's views. You don't like ask them for this campaign, for what we're working on. What does a win look like for you? That's one of the most important questions you can ask a brand. And I guarantee you that 9 out of 10 influencers don't ask them that. The other thing is if you don't know what to charge and you're insecure, I'm going to give you the ultimate hack. Just shoot straight with them and just say, look, I already want to work with you. It's already a yes from me. I want to work with you. Just tell me what's in the budget and I'll tell you what we can do. Because then you haven't committed to deliverables yet, and now you're going to get a price. Now you can't underbid yourself, and you can't underbid yourself and disrespect yourself by promising the moon and stars. What I would sell them on is I would sell them on an idea. I would sell them on an idea. I would paint a vision, paint the romantic picture for them of the perfect date that you're going to be on in this collaboration, right? You sell the vision of this dream getaway, this like, you know, whatever. I'm using the dating or the honeymoon analogy in terms of you sell the brand, the dream of the content, the vision and its impact and why the audience will resonate with them. They say, oh, wow, here's a person of vision. Here's a creative person. Oh, we would have never gotten that from the ad team that we paid so much money from last month. We paid the ad team so much money last month for such a bland, unoriginal thing that doesn't speak to the soul of the company and the brand and the vision and like, oh, this creator gets us. So prove that you get them by painting this grand vision of what the partnership looks like in terms of the content. Now you've sold the idea, the product, the experience. Now, and then you've said yes to them. Now that you've sold this vision, do they really want to lose that? Now that you've painted this wonderful picture of what this experience are and you said, hey, it's already a yes from me. What do you bring to the table? It's now their opportunity. It's their game to lose now. They already have a victory here, a fait accompli, a wonderful creative person that painted a wonderful vision that shows they understand the brand, understand our values, understand our customer, and they want to work with us. Now that person on the other end is, I better not screw this up. I better not insult them. And so they're going to throw a number. They're going to tell you a number, but they're going to try very hard not to insult you at that point. Because now you've put them in a position to lose on a yes. They want to take yes for an answer, so now they can only screw it up. This is the ultimate value in terms of, and this is the ultimate value positioning in terms of a negotiation with a brand. I've given you guys what should essentially sit in a $500 course somewhere for free. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, and it's hugely valuable to the pro community that I run. That's our goal. Within the next 90 days, we all want to land sponsors, and Roberto just laid down the framework. And I'm gonna follow up with you. I'm gonna give you a shout out when I land that sponsor because I'm gonna use the exact framework. Find
a brand you want to work with. Approach them. Get them. And by the way, don't just cold email them. If you email them, get them on a call like this and then pitch them. You can read them, they can read you, you can communicate better, you can always sell better, if not in person, with a direct handshake deal at a conference. Another way to get great sponsors, go to a conference, find the sponsors based on the conference, or go to a conference just for the sponsors of the event, and then go in person and get a handshake deal, because they don't send someone down there and pay for a $30,000 booth to put someone down there that can't make a decision.
Interesting.
So go there, get a handshake deal. If you can't do that, get somebody on a call like this, and then make a deal face-to-face as best as you can virtually. You're going to sell better than if you try to do it via email.
That's great. I actually never thought about just trying to land a sponsorship deal with the vendors at these events. That's super smart. That's very, very smart. So I also want to talk about community, right? Because there's, and you just lay out so many great ways on how to monetize your audience, how to monetize your creativity. And there's two other things that I really want to get to. The sponsorship's obviously a big one. I've just found the AdSense, you're not quitting your day job off AdSense, right? But it's,
not
to me,
most
it's
people.
Yeah, well, right. Most people don't have, 600,000 subs. But if we can put in place 5 to 10 different income streams all at the same time working,
exactly,
That's the gas right there. And, so I started a community about a year ago, and one of the reasons I love it is cash flow, and it's consistent. And, if I lose one client in my podcast agency, that's a big deal. If I lose one person in my community, I'm getting two more on the back end, right?
Right. You can cover churn. Exactly. So you can cover the churn.
Yeah. So, as someone who's running a successful community yourself, Roberto, like, when's the right time for someone to say, okay, let's build a community? Is it today? Is it a year from now? Is it when I get a certain amount of followers? What's your opinion on community?
For building a paid membership community, because what we're really talking about when we talk about community like this, we're not talking about community in the more general sense of the creator triangle, which is obviously it's attention, monetization, and then community, AMC, just like the stock or the company, the film company AMC, right? So attention, monetization, community, not necessarily in that order. It just makes the acronym easier, right? So what I would say is, when it comes to a paid membership community, that's about capacity. That's not about size. That's not about anything but your capacity, because a membership community is active income. It's not passive income. You have to show up for people. So if you have to show up for people and you have to be consistent and you have to provide a service, then you have to have the capacity to either fulfill that yourself or the financial capacity to build out a team and build community management in there. And you have to have the capacity to be present, to be able to do follow-up. You have to have the capacity technologically to have protocols in place, automations in place, all these other things. And you have to be able to deliver real value, because you cannot retain if you do not. So you need the capacity to create the level of value that over delivers so that you can retain, and not just retain, but also so you can maintain your reputation for being somebody who delivers a good product. Because you don't want people to leave your membership mad. You want people to leave the membership only because maybe something is happening in their life, not even financially, but maybe they just don't have the time, they don't have the capacity to keep up. Main people that when they leave my community, it's usually a time zone thing, or it's that they don't have the time that they used to have. Kids are back home, or something else changes in life, their work schedule changes. That's the main reason. It's usually that. The only people who leave for financial reasons is if they have an unexpected life event, or it's a post 90-day cycle type situation, to where it's not about the ROI for them. It's that they just are themselves not in a great cash flow situation. Things like a recession or inflation or other outside events can affect that. So you do have to be conscious of that. One of the things I tell people is, hey, no matter what happens on the pricing on my end, you can always come back at the price you came in. So I always grandfather people into pricing. You're always welcome back, unless there's a reason that you're not, because you also have to be protective of your community. You have to have the capacity and the capability to protect your community if they're bad actors or people who are making others uncomfortable. So you have to always be able to maintain from that standpoint too. You have to have the capacity to have yourself or a team member be aware of those things and be able to read those tea leaves. So I think it's capacity. I think it's the capacity to create a great product and a great experience, and to be present as a leader, or have the capacity to delegate.
It makes sense. And I never really thought of it like that, but you're right. Capacity is definitely a thing. And once I was able to quit my day job, I was able to give more value there, and that just completely enhanced it. And now it's going quite well.
Time freedom is the difference between people who are small and people who can be more than small.
Yeah. Yeah, well, which is the goal. That's why we're all here, baby. We want to grow. We want to get big. We want to grow. I want to talk a little bit about forward thinking. One of the things that I find with a lot of creators, they say, well, especially big creators, and I don't want to knock on you, because I think YouTube is excellent. I love YouTube. I think a lot of times creators say, well, this is what worked for me 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And, I think that I almost get concerned that we might be going into a market that's saturated to an extent. It's really hard, in my opinion, to find good niches on YouTube.
It's really not.
Okay. So tell me, how do I find a good niche?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you really think that there's a single niche in YouTube that is saturated with an embarrassment of riches when it comes to quality content and consistency? Name me a niche where there's this overwhelming abundance of quality and consistency.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Let's say finance gurus, maybe.
Okay. And is there any novelty or variety, or are they all clones?
They're definitely different.
Where's the variety? Because I'll tell you, here's the thing. Finance gurus, okay, finance channels, finance gurus. Most of them are real estate guys, right?
A lot, yeah.
Okay, so where are the real estate guys and real estate gals, right? Okay, so where are the finance gurus that are not real estate people that came from the financial sector and the banking industry and have a background as a financial analyst of some kind and have now retired to YouTube? Where are the finance gurus that came from the background of being a software developer who exited or built their own product and are more entrepreneurial from that standpoint? Where are the finance gurus that they now are teaching personal finance, but they had a brick and mortar style business and it was a service-based business like power washing or something like that? So where are the finance gurus that are blue collar millionaires? Where are the finance gurus that are a Mexican immigrant? Where are the finance gurus that are, Asian immigrants? Where are the finance gurus that are, Black or Caribbean Latino like me? There's a variety of ways to have people in different niches, but also here's the other thing. Different level. Where are the finance gurus that are doing man on the street style content? Because now let's not even go to the individual characteristic of the presenter. Now let's go to the style of the content. So where are the finance gurus who are doing man on the street style personal finance content and showing you how regular people work, or even going to people who are successful and talking to them about their retirement? All right, so who's doing that type of content? Where are the finance gurus that are showing you a journey where they help rehabilitate somebody's financial situation, almost like a bar rescue? Where are they doing that for people's personal finance? Where are they doing that for people whose businesses are going under and then helping them, again, like a bar rescue scenario? There is not nearly enough variety for us to say the market is saturated. What it's saturated with is clones, and what it's saturated with is a lot of mediocrity, and what's saturated with is repetition. And so there's not nearly enough variety. There's not nearly enough different types of styles, and there's not nearly enough different diversity of thought. Because again, finance gurus, a lot of them all say the same thing. Where are the people that are talking about, where's the finance gurus that come from the perspective of talking more about protecting your assets in terms of insurance and liability, divorce? Where's the divorce lawyer finance guru? Where's that? So there's not nearly enough representation, and I don't just mean that from a cultural or ethnic or gender perspective, but I mean there's not nearly enough diversity of thought, not enough diversity of perspective, not enough diversity of expertise, and not people coming up with different angles. Everyone's repeating a formula that's been proven to work instead of adding any new value.
I think that's interesting. Yeah, no, interesting point. And this idea that you're talking about, so I think there's two ideas that you're touching on here. One of which really struck me when I had Jasmine Star on the show is that she is such a unique personality. I've never met anyone like her. And it's so obvious why she's successful in helping people grow on social media and create social media content, because she's so unique and,
Yes.
and energy filled. And then the other thing that you're mentioning, I think, is trying to find niches within the niche, niching down.
Yeah. We have too much derivative content. That's why YouTube's not saturated, is because everyone's trying to be a derivative of what's successful. Yeah. That's why you had an era of Casey Neistat clones. Now you'll have an era of Mr. Beast clones, but it's all derivative. It's all derivative. And the thing is, Casey Neistat won with some level of novelty. Mr. Beast won with some high level of novelty. Casey is another good example, because here's the other thing. We have personal finance. So who has high quality, extraordinarily high quality personal finance and is like every day, new topic, and it's not regurgitated? Because who's a Casey Neistat of personal finance? Who's bringing you high quality and high quantity, and they don't miss a day. They don't miss a day for nothing. We don't have that. So, okay. So there's room, because I can point to something we don't have. We don't have 10 people doing street interviews showing the gaps in like financial literacy and helping people and challenging people's assumptions, challenging people about things like taxes and what they believe, and showing, here is like, does this change your mind? We don't have these kind of things that open up the conversation around finance in a different way. We don't have a personal finance guru who's been able to actually do something like radical, like land somebody from, Congress that wants to talk about taxes and talk to somebody and like have the guru go back and forth with them about tax law, which would be, everyone would watch that. Yeah. So like you can pick a niche, and then you have to think about for your, really not at the very, very beginning, but in some way in the forward thinking, you got to think, what am I bringing to the table here? Am I just adding to, like, because again, you can start out just not making very high quality stuff. There's nothing wrong with making your first 100 crappy videos. Everyone does it. You know, you have to. That's the grind. But at some point, from a quality, quantity, and more importantly, value perspective, from the value propositions, what's my unique value proposition? What's the unique thing I'm going to be known for? Because you can only really become known by being unique, not derivative. So if you're going to become a big YouTuber, that's the goal. You have to bring something fresh to the table, or something, deliver on an unoriginal idea, but in an original way.
And I know I still suffer from this to an extent, is like, but what about all the people I'm leaving out? Right. You know, because you start going to these sub niches, but it just, like, this comes up time and time again from every successful person that I hear says this, and it makes sense. And by the way, also in your book, Create Something Awesome, so many great examples of these creators and what they're doing and how they've changed the game. That was one of the things I really loved, was all the case studies from the book. So, you know, I appreciate the research.
I'll give you another example. You don't, like, people think that there's novelty in going super, super niche, right? Niche down scares too many people. When I say niche down, what I'm telling you to do is I want you to choose your audience wisely. You know, there's this line in Game of Thrones. I don't know if are you a Game of Thrones fan?
Oh, of course.
All right, so in season 1, Ned Stark and Jaime Lannister are talking in the throne room, and Ned's like, you know, that's nice armor. It doesn't have a scratch on it. And he's like, and then Jaime Lannister's like, yeah, you know what? People have been swinging at me for years and just never seem to hit. Like, and then Ned goes, well, I guess you've chosen your enemies wisely now, haven't you? And he's like, I have a knack for it. Well, what you need to do is you need to choose your audience wisely. A lot of people get so fixated on thinking about, like, oh, I don't want to compete with this person, or I don't want to leave these people out, or I want to do, like, okay, so if you try to please everyone, you please no one, least of all yourself. So that's the full quote. And then the other thing is, you do have to commit to something and someone if you expect them to commit to you in return. So in terms of building a relationship does require some level of exclusivity. A relationship does require you to pick some level of exclusivity. You cannot be inclusive to everybody. You have to pick something, and you have to pick someone. And so you have to create your avatar of your viewer and say, this is the ideal someone that I serve. This is the ideal someone that I'm committed to. This is the ideal someone that I'm going to entertain, transform, represent. This is the person representing the audience, the avatar representing the group, representing the collective. This is who I'm in it for. This is who I really care about, and I can do without the rest. It's no offense to them, but it's like, hey, I don't need the rest. I just need this person to value what I'm doing and to get something from it. And when you understand that that's what you're doing, and that it's a relationship that you're trying to build, and that you're committing, and that it's exclusive, then it's not so bad to niche down when you think of it from the perspective of a relationship frame. And then you understand now when you commit in that way, you also understand what is expected of you, because it's like, okay, I've committed to this group of people. What they've been getting is this. What they deserve is this. So that's how I'm going to deliver for them. So, okay, if you decide to go into something that's hyper saturated, like gaming, you could be like, you know what? I'm a gamer and I'm bored. I'm bored with all the cookie cutter clone content that I've seen in the gaming community. You know what? This community deserves better. This community deserves an agent of chaos, and I'm going to be that agent of chaos. I'm going to shake things up. It's like, you know what? Let's show them what we can do. And again, this is also where things like deciding to upgrade and invest your money. You go, you know what? I'm not going to buy those new Jordans for $300. I'm going to buy a Sennheiser MKE 600 for $300, because now I'm going to have perfect audio quality even with my hardwood floors. And now, because this community deserves nothing but excellent quality audio, they are not going to have another mediocre content creator with bad audio. I'm not going to do it. And so that's a commitment. That's a sacrifice. That's like, oh, I'm choosing this over that. So that's another thing, is the commitment is value proposition. It's quality. It's like, hey, this community deserves quality content, but they also deserve someone who's going to become their daily ritual and show up for them, say hi to them, make them feel good about themselves, make them feel welcome, make them feel like the thing that they're crazy, stupid, excited about is valid and doesn't make them a freak, they deserve that, and they're going to get it every single day. There's nobody showing up for them. I'll be there every day. I'll be the only one who cares about them every day. I will reply to every comment. It's doing these things that puts somebody a cut above, because no matter what somebody makes, no matter how much cinematography they do, you know what? It's one of the simplest things you can do. Reply to everybody while you're small, and you won't be small very long, because you'll be the only person on all of YouTube that actually put any thought into treating them nicely. And that's something they probably didn't get on YouTube. That's probably something they didn't even get in their entire day, that day, for all you know. And that matters. And so that's why I did all the way to 100,000 subscribers, is I just replied to every single comment, and I was thoughtful. It wasn't always just one word. Sometimes it was. Sometimes it was a simple thank you. If they left a simple comment, I left a simple comment. If they went and they wrote a paragraph, I wrote a twice as long paragraph. That's what I did until it was unsustainable. And so it's doing unscalable things sometimes. And sometimes it's also making these really big commitments. I know everyone is like, oh, a $300 microphone. I can't. Save up. You're going to spend $300 over a period of time on something. It's going to be vending machines, beer money, Uber Eats. It's going to be something. It might as well be giving your audience a better quality of video. And the audio is the biggest thing they notice right away in most cases. So that's like that's a commitment you should make. That's a sacrifice you can make. That's something you can save up for. And they'll appreciate it, and it will not go unnoticed, I promise you, because there's just so many people who won't even do that you'll stand out.
That sacrifice point really hits home, Roberto. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, just that idea of, don't buy the $300 pair of shoes, buy the $300 audio piece of equipment. And it's not just that, it's, maybe I won't watch Netflix tonight.
And I'll just reply to everybody.
Exactly. Because that sacrifice today, it pays off. It's like putting dollars in the stock market or in Bitcoin or whatever. You get that. It comes back big time. I really want to ask you your opinion on this, Roberto, because, when we talk about the creator economy, making money, all the different ways that we can generate income, one of the things that we've seen really pop off over the last 18 months is NFTs. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to get your opinion. What do you think about NFTs? Big scam, something creators should be looking at? Are we not there yet? I just kind of want to get Roberto's hot take on NFTs.
So I'm a believer in blockchain technology in and of itself. There's several issues, because the thing is, fundamentally, NFTs are not new, fundamentally speaking. Crypto digital currencies are not new, and I'll prove this point. So first of all, if you ever played World of Warcraft, I don't have to explain any of this to you. But for those of you who didn't, what I can explain to you is, all right, with digital currencies and saying, oh, it has no value except what people believe in. Well, that's all of our currencies, but let's take that aside. If y'all are, back in my day, if y'all are old enough, you remember Disney bucks. If you're old enough, you remember Disney bucks. And you remember that you were turning regular currency into Disney currency that you could only spend within Disney parks, the Disney stores when they were in the mall, back when there were Disney stores in the mall. Everyone here may or may not be old enough to remember Disney bucks, but as a concept, you do have to understand that a lot of brands and companies had their own paper money, not just gift cards, actual paper money that you could spend. And the thing is, a lot of people collected the paper money. Somewhere back in my storage unit, I guarantee you that I still have Disney dollars, and they might be actually worth more now because they're a collectible piece of Disney memorabilia tied to the Disney brand, and because Disney doesn't make physical Disney bucks anymore. So those physical Disney bucks might be more than the $1-to-$1 currency exchange. And the thing is, now here's the thing, even without it needing monetary intrinsic value to everybody else, it does have it for me and my family, in the sense that this is a moment in time. This is an object that represents a moment in time of our shared childhood that excludes everybody else who never had that memory. It's a commemorative thing. It's no different than buying a commemorative plate. If you're someone who, let's say you bought a commemorative plate when Barack Obama got elected or something, or a commemorative coin when Barack Obama or the last president, whoever it was, Reagan, whatever, that, whether you sell it or not, it has intrinsic value to you because it's a time capsule. It represents where you were and what you lived through and a piece of history, and it was meaningful enough to you, okay? And in terms of digital things that we buy that may or may not have utility, Y'all do not want to know how much money I spent in Pokemon Go when it came out. Y'all really don't want, and I don't care. Those were the best summers of my life. Like, that was like going out and seeing my downtown area in North Carolina revitalized by Pokemon Go, seeing the vendors and the shop owners revitalized by Pokemon Go, seeing a lot of the churches make a real youth effort because their churches were now Pokestops and everything like that, embracing the culture, knowing that literally 20 years before they were demonizing Pokemon. Like, that meant something. That was valuable. So the dollars spent on that, we spend dollars with no utility all the time, but right. I think we judge it very harshly with this NFT stuff. Am I saying that there are no scams out there? I'm not saying that. There were a bunch of them. There were a bunch of celebrities, influencers. There were a lot of, yes, there was a lot of bad things. There's also more text messaging scams than all of that. There's more email scams than all of that. There are more mail fraud scams than all of that. There are more phone scams to seniors than all of that. And it's not even close, because NFTs are a very niche market and niche community. So was YouTube once upon a time. So was TikTok. So was Snapchat. So were all of these things. So again, it's niche communities. It hasn't scaled to normies. What will make NFTs real is it will not be made real. And the problem that I have is that I knew that this would not be made real by influencers. It will be made real by corporations first. And we have not gotten to that. We have not gotten to consumer blockchain yet. We will get to the consumer blockchain, because corporations will do this. Because here's the thing. Everyone mocked QR codes. Now you go to all these restaurants and there's a QR code on your table for the menu and everyone gets it.
Yeah.
Overseas, outside of America, QR codes are even more popular in Europe and Asia than over here, by far. It's a big deal. And people didn't respect QR code technology and mocked that for a very long time. But now that your favorite restaurants are doing it, now that they're doing it in commercials, in videos, and it's on billboards and things like that, and it's fairly normalized and it's working out. Like, it's even in magazines. They'll have an extra thing with the QR code and you'll do something with that in magazines now. Like, so these QR codes were real, and it has utility, and people understand that. There are corporations like Disney and AMC, and what I think will do it, and I'll talk about creators in a minute. Disney and AMC and Marvel, they're committed to this. They're waiting out the hype from Scam Mania and the big fall off in crypto and probably some regulation stuff. And they're probably going to hold out for like 1 or 2 administrations. And then in 15 years, you'll see the real genesis of the consumer blockchain. So I still believe that NFTs are mostly for normies. They're like 15 years away from adoption. Here's what I think creators should do with NFTs. I think you creators should do a free NFT mint with purchase of a physical item, because that's what's going to make their audience not be angry or toxic or mad about NFTs or say, oh, you're scamming me. It's like, no, you bought a t-shirt from me. You got a free NFT mint. You got the option. So it's up to you. You got the option to redeem your free minting of an animated NFT that goes with this t-shirt that you bought with this cool meme on it. Well, we have an animated thing of that meme, and you can mint it for $0 as an NFT and have it in your digital collection as a commemorative thing. I think every conference should give every attendee a commemorative NFT mint for $0. And if everyone, the environment. Look, 70% of all pollution is created by 100 corporations. Look it up. We ain't really doing that much. We ain't that special and everything like that. Well, our individual, it's not that it's nothing, but it might as well be if you realize that. And you need to understand the other thing is that not all NFTs are created equal. There is a such thing as Polygon Matic. Fwiz, one of the lead chiefs of YouTube gaming, left to go to Matic, go to Poly, and that's a zero carbon footprint blockchain.
There are a lot of solutions being addressed, like Ethereum to Ethereem 2.0. There's a lot of stuff happening. So
there's a lot of that, and a lot of people are environmentally conscious. You know, the people who build these technologies, they're nerds. Most nerds, pretty literally, like most nerds are on the side of environmentalism Most nerds have what you might want to call quote unquote progressive values, even though I don't think that has the monopoly on caring about the environment. I think most people care about the environment. But if you had to put it down, all right, someone doing this stuff is going to be a nerd. What do you think a nerd's overall core values are probably going to be? Oh, let me guess. They probably are going to care about the environment. So they're not trying to destroy the earth. Probably not. So like I would just consider the reasonable. I would consider the reasonable things we could do here, because I don't think that most people have the ability to create the utility that, say, a Gary Vaynerchuk does with making a massive exclusive conference. Makes a massive exclusive conference and then ties it to, hey, your NFT is just a ticket to this conference and it has some other commemorative perks on top of it. Most people don't have the capacity to do that, but corporations do. Gary Vaynerchuk operates at the level of a corporation. So there's a difference. So I don't think new content creators should really worry about it just yet. But if they were going to, I'm telling you what they should probably do is make it a value add, zero risk to the audience, $0 cost to them, and communicate that there's zero environmental impact, which is better than the physical item they're buying, by the way.
Sure.
No one's crying about the environmental impact of merchandise for some reason.
I think we're closer. I love the idea of a free NFT mint with the physical product.
Yeah.
I think that
because there's no scam.
Well, right. You're actually getting something tangible, because I get that a lot. And then maybe, 6 months to a year in the future, you airdrop them something to say, hey, thanks for your purchase. They're like, wow, I want to buy another t-shirt, or I want to know what's happening next, because you can just give value in perpetuity.
Right. Exactly. Because now these holders, you can show them the value of being part of a exclusive group.
Yeah.
Because I look at NFTs, if you're going to add utility, the utility is a network and a community, and it's being a part of something. Yeah. I know this because NFTs are no different to me than, okay, most of y'all didn't play Pokemon like I did. Most of you didn't play Magic the Gathering like I did. You didn't collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So you weren't doing that.
By the way, all the things that you talked about, I was like deep into all of it. So
oh yeah, I was absolutely into all of it. It's like, look, y'all ain't going to go out there and y'all aren't going to be annoyed that you couldn't buy a silver foil $1,000 Blue Eyes White Dragon. I'm annoyed that I couldn't buy a $1,000 piece of cardboard. And that's not supposed to be a flex. That's supposed to be, if it is a flex, it's a flex of how much of a nerd I am. Like, that's how much of a nerd I am. It's like, oh no, I don't care. I didn't buy the new Xbox. I don't care. But I'm mad that I did not get to spend $1,000 on that Blue Eyes White Dragon. Like, so.
But those lessons, and I think back, like a lot of the time, I almost feel like it was wasted, but it gives me an understanding of how this NFT community world is going to look. And it's really interesting to me, because I mean, again, at the end of the day, if you're going to get rich as a creator, you need to be able to galvanize people to your message with your story. You need to get people excited, right? And NFTs, I think, is an interesting way of doing that.
It's interesting, but I don't think it's as valuable as things like exclusive community memberships, because then we're talking about recurring revenue and people just saying, I do value attention, I value time, and I value belonging. And I think that's easy. I think it's easy to commoditize that, because like no one's going to argue the value of attention, and no one's going to argue the value of belonging, because I mean, look, so sororities, fraternities, also, why do we buy name brands? We buy name brands for status and belonging. Yeah. And I think that the groups that you belong to, the associations you belong to, there's a reason that as a photographer, there's a reason I belong to Professional Photographers of America. Besides the utility perks, besides the insurance for the gear, it's a prestigious organization. Why would I not want to belong to it? I belonged to the Boy Scouts of America for a reason. Yes, it was community, and I paid my scout dues, and I did the trips, and there was value in that. But it was the bonding with the community. It was what it gave me access to. It's also the prestige that comes with the scouting. The prestige of, you're looked at differently when you can say that you're a scout. You're looked at differently when you say, hey, I earned my Arrow of Light award, or when you get to say that you're an Eagle Scout. There's a different level of status and prestige, and it extends outside of the scouting community. Other people look at you differently for that. And the thing is, we're not there with certain NFTs and certain things yet. I mean, we kind of are in certain collections, because there's a level of monetary value to that, to where, okay, you can only have that if you're a baller, or if somehow a baller gifted it to you, and then you have a network.
I think it's complicated now. Most people aren't like, oh, I got to set up a MetaMask, and then I got to get the right type of
So I agree.
blockchain.
I think you have to simplify it, just like how earlier I talked about the fact that being in the creator economy was the simplification of the media moguls and the elites and literally the 6 companies that own the television networks. It was the simplification of that and then putting it in everybody's pocket and making these things accessible but not only accessible, desirable to regular people. Because before, you had to be a nerd to be into this stuff and to own Apple products. You had to really be a nerd to care about Apple products once upon a time. It was not for normies. Now, even normies want the prestige that comes with Apple, so there's brand building there. I think the most valuable thing for content creators is to worry about brand building, and NFTs may or may not be there. It may be good for your brand, may not be good for your brand. And I don't want to stay on that tangent too long. And I do want to give you, let's roll for another maybe 10 or 15 minutes because I want to give your audience the most value possible, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
But yeah, But I think the most valuable asset that a content creator has is their brand. And by that, I mean their reputation, their body of work, the relationship they have with their audience. And ultimately, I think that that's really what it comes down to. Also, their own network. So I think that your relationships, your body of work, and your reputation are the indispensable thing that creates your value as a individual, a content creator, an entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur. And then you have to really think about, well, now how do I translate that and make that interesting, accessible, and valuable to people based on what they care about, what matters to them. That comes down to relationship building.
I'd like to get your opinion, Roberto, and thanks for being so gracious with your time, brother. I'd like to get your opinion on pivoting, because, when I first started my journey into podcasting, I was going to create this show. It was all about fatherhood and being an awesome dad. And I did that for about a year. I wasn't making any money doing that. People started paying me for doing something else, so this is something I kind of struggle with, do we want to keep doubling down on something, or do we want to keep our eyes open for the opportunities and pivot when the opportunity's there? Because frankly, if you're new at creating, if you're new at branding, you might not get it right the first time.
I think a lot of times we have to kill our ego. Because I think what we wish we were, I talk a lot about ikigai. You have to be passionate about things and care about them enough to keep doing them in the face of difficulty. So passion and loving things matters, and knowing that you don't hate it matters. Feeling like you do serve the world in some capacity and make it a better place, and that there's a demand and a desire from other people for what you do is important. And that's also going to validate you, because you do need people to desire it. You do need people to respect it. You need the attention, and you also need to feel good about the impact it has. So you do need that quadrant.
Yeah.
But then you actually also have to not be delusional, and you have to be good at the thing that you are doing. You can't just like it and other people desire it. You have to actually be good at it, or it doesn't really matter. But then if you're doing all of that and then you make no money out of it, that passion will quickly turn into hate, or it won't be sustainable, or you won't have the ability to invest to improve, or you won't make the impact that you want. So you can't forego, and this is where creators struggle. They might achieve 3 of those quadrants and forego the monetization piece, and then not be able to invest in getting any better, or invest in creating a better scaled impact, or be able to sustain a lifestyle that lets them stay passionate and stay in love with it, versus I'm doing all of this and not getting what I need to survive, and I'm miserable now, and then you resent your craft. And so that's why people need to stop being starving artists. That's probably the 3rd book I write. But they need to stop being starving artists. We need to end that narrative. And you do need to monetize, and you just need to do it honestly and earnestly, and that's all you have to do. And then what's the guilt? Because what I have a problem with is you get over the guilt of selling things and making money. I need you to reframe that. If you're not doing that, if you're not making enough money, you might not be respecting yourself enough. You're not respecting your time. You're not respecting your skill and your craft. You're not respecting your community in the sense of your peer community, in the fact that you're saying they're somehow wrong-headed or undeserving of making money. So that's a disrespect to them. If you feel you're too good to price yourself and you're tanking the market, or you're undervaluing the craft, you're undervaluing the craft when you undersell it. And that's disrespecting your peers, and you're disrespecting yourself. And then you also are not respecting your community, because how the hell are you going to invest in giving them a better quality of product, better experience? So when you were doing the fatherhood thing, I know that you enjoyed it, but it wasn't sustainable, right?
No, it wasn't sustainable because it just wasn't paying the bills. And I was starting to get paid to do other things. And frankly, I thought this was a learning lesson too. I looked at the brands in the fatherhood brand that were actually winning, that were getting lots of engagement, that were getting lots of eyeballs. They were all jokes. They were all, funny dad memes and dad jokes and dad bod stuff. And I wanted to be the opposite of that.
So what the market was responding to, which is what important quadrant, did not match the desire of your heart and what you would be passionate about. And on top of that, it wasn't making any money.
Well, that's just it. And I kind of had that aha moment. I was like, this is the direction that I want to go. And I made a lot of, I don't consider it wasted time. I thought it was a positive experience, right? You
learn lessons, you build relationships. That's fine.
Right. And you learn technical skills too. But I think that if I would have taken a step back and looked at the marketplace, what are people responding to, what's working, I could have gotten some insights to try to find my path maybe a little bit sooner. But again, you got to it eventually, that's one of the issues too, is, sometimes you just got to do the work, you get this perfection paralysis where, I just need to read one more book. I just need to take one more college class. I just need to get one more internship, but eventually you just got to go for it,
Some things don't have to be a success. Some things are part of the process.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, for you, experimenting with this fatherhood thing and seeing it informed you, because it showed you that build it and they will come is not an answer. You did learn the technical side along the way, so the skills were not, if you acquire skill in the pursuit of something, it's never a waste.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. They don't understand that your skills and experience in themselves are a reward, and they're a substantial reward. They're not nothing. And I don't think people respect skills anymore. What they respect is status. They respect results, status, clout, cash, all those things. But they don't respect the value of being a human who's now capable of something they weren't capable of before they went on this endeavor. They don't respect their transformation and the increase in their own capacity and their own power level as a significant enough reward. And I do. To gain a new ability, to gain a new skill is a significant reward, and it's enough of a reason to do something. It is enough of a reason by itself to do something. Now, that might be a framework I have because I'm 38 and I existed in a world without the internet almost as long as I have, and by internet, I mean the modern internet. The modern internet, social media, I've existed as long without social media as with social media at this point, Yeah. So, if you look at it from that perspective, that's a balance that I can strike in terms of, I understand what it meant to get no attention and still have to do things, to do things and get 5 people's attention was significant. Oh my God, it was overwhelmingly gratifying to have 5 people's attention for doing something because there was not the scale of the internet to offer you it in absurd numbers. And then, so that's why I'm able to deprioritize that as a reason to do something or not to do something. Then there's also the realism part. The monetization piece is the realism part, because the thing is, you do need your own passion, but it doesn't need to be your number one passion all the time. It can be your number 2. You have to not despise something at a bare minimum. It's better if there is passion because it'll get you through hard times because you can stay invested. But you have to consider that it may not be appropriate to monetize your number 1 or your number 2 passion. It's usually more appropriate to monetize your number 3, 4, or 5. And the reason is because if you try to monetize your 1 or 2, it could be subject to some compromises that could corrupt your love for it. You might need to selfishly reserve your number 1 or number 2 passion and say, I want to have the ability to make so much money doing something I enjoy to where I never have to sell that. I never have to make money on that. I never have to compromise on that. I never have to get attention for it or be validated. I can do it for myself.
That's a really good point. And that was one of the issues I had with the fatherhood platform too. I was recording all these videos with my daughter and with my kids. I was like, I just want to spend the time with my kid. I don't want to have to be recording everything and moving this and scripting it out. I just want to go out and have fun. I think that's a really underrated point. I haven't heard people really talk about that. That's an excellent point.
Yeah. Well, it's because we've gotten to a culture that always is now very, as much about the emotional gratification without any practicality tied to it of, live your passion, live your dreams, do all this. It's I'm not against you doing that. I'm saying people are giving you not giving you actionable advice around that, and not giving you practical advice around a lot of that, and not also telling you that it does not necessarily happen the way you think, and it may not go the way you think, and you have to account for all these other things, and you have to understand that you may not want to live your life like that after all. You might want to have more things in your life, or you might want to not introduce these other things like the worry and pursuit of money into this part of your life, because you may not be happy with the compromises that maintaining that looks like. That may not be a healthy situation for you to do that. Like someone who says, oh, I want to be a YouTube gamer. I'm like, maybe you don't. Because if you enjoy playing video games, the last thing you should do, if you really are passionate about it, you want to keep loving playing video games, maybe you don't make it your job. Maybe you don't make it your job. Like I realized, like I told you, if I started drawing for a company, I would start to hate and resent art, because I would now have to be told what to make and how to make it. I would have cooks in my kitchen. That's probably not a good thing. So I'm like, okay, nope, not on that. I actually at one point did try to make a living as a photographer, and I realized, I might selfishly really want to do photography for myself and not make that my whole thing, which is why my YouTube channel did not end up revolving around photography. But I am passionate about creativity. I'm passionate about no more starving artists, and I realized that it's like, okay, I want people to have skills, and I want them to respect skills and craftsmanship and educating themselves about their craft. I want people to make money doing something they enjoy and with the skills that they've hard won as a creative person. And they also need the proper mindset to go into the world and to defend their craft and defend their work, not only from critics, but also from people who don't think they have a right to make money doing it. And even their own peers. And so I thought about it, and that's how my channel evolved over the years. It was a slow realization. I've pivoted. My channel has evolved. It is not as it started, but it was an evolution of my own career life and path and experience. And then two, me finding new needs to serve in the community and saying, okay, the needs of creative professionals are evolving. The options for creative professionals are evolving. It's no longer work at a company or freelance. It's now, well, wait a minute. You can do either or both of those. And now you can do this thing where you can create content too. So it was the landscape evolved, the options evolved, the technology evolved. I evolved with it. My experiences did, and therefore the information I conveyed, and then what I could talk about. I mean, I've written a book now. I now can give more substantive information and data about content creation from a self-publishing standpoint, and about the different formats of books, the process for making it, how much money you stand to make there. And now I have my own set of data of, instead of just other people's data, I have, oh, here's what I made on royalties. Here's how I did it. Here's my process. Here's what I didn't understand. Here's what I learned. Here's what I didn't expect. So I always try to communicate things I've actually done. That's one of the other difference between me and some people is I only talk about things I actually did.
Yeah. And the book again, really good. I just need to encourage everyone, check it out. Create Something Awesome, how creators are profiting from their passion in the creator economy, full of great case studies, practical advice. Like when you break down like all the different platforms and channels and how to monetize them, I like practical and I like tactical, and you give us a lot of that. So listen, Roberto, you've been so gracious with your time. I got to hit you with a couple rapid fires because the fans love it. But again, check out the book, Create Something Awesome, how creators are profiting from their passion in the creator economy. There's a link below. Click it, check it out. I'm about halfway through. It's really, really good so far. And I'm not just saying that, it is. It's very good.
No, I appreciate that. Let's do the rapid fire.
Rapid fire, baby. Roberto, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Probably still Nightmare on Elm Street.
Classic. Overrated, underrated, rollerblades.
Overrated. Old school skates, it is. Still got it.
Okay. I dig it. If you were on death row, what would you eat for your final meal?
Probably ice cream.
I'm down with that. What are you putting on the ice cream?
Probably X for like a banana split. No cherries, no strawberries, just whipped cream, hot fudge, and caramel and bananas. Probably just go that way.
I love that magic shelf stuff.
Yeah. So either that or one last home cooked meal from my mom. But I'm never gonna be on death row. In fact, my current plan is to live forever. So
good. It's a good plan in AI in the AI world, right?
Something. No, I'm a Sith Lord and everything. I have my ways. I'm a Sith Lord.
So if you could live anywhere, where would you live?
If I could live anywhere, where do I live? Maybe Japan. Always wanted to go. Haven't. Still has access to a lot of other places. Amazing history, landmarks, culture. Probably one of the safest places in the world. Very little in terms of crime, violence, most polite people. And they tend to live very long. They have purpose-driven life and philosophy, and so very good values. Japan,
good choice. If you could sit next to anyone on an airplane, who would you want to sit next to?
If I could sit next to anyone on an airplane. That's a good question. Most attractive single female celebrity that's also secretly a big nerd. Whoever that might be. I just picked that.
Is it Mila Kunis, maybe?
No, she's married to Ashton Kutcher, so.
Oh, that's fair.
Fair. No, I just hook me up with the nerdiest single female celebrity, and so we can have fun and have a good time and everything like that. It's I either have a new homie that I can play Nintendo Switch with, give her my friend code, or I have a new girlfriend. So great.
Win-win. Final question for you, Roberto. If you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
Don't doubt your instincts. Stay away from toxic people. Become as productive, as educated, and as motivated as possible. And hang in there. Stuff gets hard. You can do it. You can tough it out. This too shall pass. And we are going to do great things. Don't doubt it for 1 minute. Keep going and ignore the haters. Double down on your own projects, your own passion. Cut any losers out of your life.
Boom. Roberto said it. I agree with it.
Yep.
Go pick up the book, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Roberto. Thanks for joining the show today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I've got a bevy of notes. I hope you do too. And thanks for listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And listen, just a reminder, Jasmine Starr, David Meltzer, Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas, Daryl Eves, Justin Brown, the list goes on and on of the guests that have been on the show to help you get to your 6-figure year. Hit subscribe, go back to the catalog, and start leveling up your game today. It's time to take action. Get after it. See you next time.